face you and raise the seat.
For what?
So, can you step back so you can see that the seat is raising?
Is that good? That's good.
Here's a project where I wanted to be able to control this joystick, but remotely. And the reason for that is when I transfer from a lawnmower, from a moped or a motorcycle onto the chair, onto the power chair, I need to move the power chair out of the way, or have someone with me to move it. So I figured, okay, I can make some sort of a remote control for this using RC components. There are a couple of switches, obviously, which is the on-off switch. There's a horn. It's very low on this one. And there's a seat rise. Oh, let's see if you can see that. All right. Well, okay, you can see that the seat is rising. All right. So there's a couple of things. So we have a joystick with X, Y. Move that back down. All right. So we have a joystick with X and Y. Power button, horn, and also I forgot to mention is speed control. All right. So my first instinct was to I have an extra one here. Okay. Well, it's not extra. I bought it on eBay. I think it was $70. So I was going to use this as just a model for figuring things out and what's going to go with it. This is just a piece of double-sided tape here. What I did is I started out with making a cutout. Looks rather phallical, but if I can hold this into there, give me a second. Okay, so this is really hard holding. Okay, so I made this, okay, there we go. Made a cutout out of cardboard. I trimmed it as best I can. Following that, I also took it to the next step of doing it in wood. Okay, and let's see if I can show this here. I'll just put this here. Give me a second just to line this up. All right. Okay, so there we have it in wood. And again, this is just a prototype, but I figured I would, using this wood, I can screw or somehow mount these servo motors to control the joystick and these buttons. Then I thought to myself, Well, and then this would obviously attach, once this thing would be completed with servo motors on it and whatever, it would attach somehow to there and be removable. Then my third thought was, well, wait a minute, this is an extra one. So what I can do is have two of these on the same chair. Okay, not side by side, obviously, but somehow I'm going to take this thing apart. I'm going to solder into it and have a switch that will switch between either one controller, which would be the remote, which would be this one, remote controlled, or this one, which is attached to the wheelchair. I'm going to have to splice into these wires here, all right, to splice this second one in, maybe hide this somewhere underneath the seat or behind the seat, but this will be the one that will be remote controlled. And in case you're wondering what the big plan is, I'm going to be using a 10-channel radio controlled receiver and servo motors. Let's see. Hang on, let me get the servo motors. Okay, so this is the servo motor. I don't know if you can see that. It's an MG995. And it's the 3 prongs. I'm going to need 2 or 3 of them. I don't know yet. And they are going to plug into a. Okay, this is the receiver for the radio controller. It's a 10-channel. It's going to be able to run 4 servo motors, and I believe 5 or 6 switches, which will work perfectly for what I need. Going back to the servo motors for a second. Okay, this is the. Hold up, sorry, side up. Okay, so this is the MG995. After reading up about it, I'm not sure if this is going to have enough torque to actually push the joystick. So I upped it and went for the improved model, which is the, what is this? The MG9, can you see that? MG996, okay. Same ratio, these 180 degrees, because we only need it to go like from, say, well, it starts off like, for argument's sake, at 3 o'clock, and then we'll go to like either 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock. The other thing that I did is I 3D printed a couple of prototype, this one has the old motor on it, but 3D printed some switches that I might be using. This one's already falling apart. But as you can see, as the servo turns, it will pull this bar right here. This will somehow be connected to the joystick, okay, on the side or the front, depending on where it gets mounted. Then there was a second, where's that? Then there was a second, a second design that I found 3D printed. Again, this one just has the old motor. I'm going to swap that out, but the same principle. But this one can be mounted. Okay, so it'll be mounted on wood. You can see mounting screws there. Okay, mounting screws. And I'm going to show you just how this thing will work before I actually start the project and start making cuts and stuff. Okay, so I have the 2 servos connected to the receiver, and the receiver is operated, it's getting power from this power pack that I bought. Right, so in theory, okay, if you can imagine that the joystick is popping out from here, okay, like this, okay, from the bottom. So in theory, we should be able to push the joystick forward or pull it back and turn it left or right. And I connected these, and we'll see now. I'm going to go forward first. Let me back up here. So if we go forward, okay, back, and left, and then right. Oh, obviously the servos aren't mounted, so they're moving all over the table. But there we go. So that should work if these are connected properly to the joystick. We'll find out. Okay, let's start by opening this guy up. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3. We got 5 screws holding the back in, so we'll start with that. Okay, for the record, they were M5 screws. I'll just pull the cap off there. They were M5 screws, and okay, just kind of fell apart. Cool. All right. Now there's probably a different way of doing this. Someone's going to say, well, you probably could have just tapped into here and maybe even put the 2 joysticks together. I don't know enough about electronics to try anything like that. So I'm just going to do it an old-fashioned way and just have some sort of a switch there. Actually, there's a switch right here. This is the switch I'll be using. It's a 9 pole, and you flip it to one side, and it'll connect these 3 to one joystick. You flip it to the other side, and it'll connect these 3, the middle ones, to the other joystick. So this will be the controlling which joystick is active at the time. All right, but that's way down the road. Anyway, so next step is to open this up and see what's there, man. Okay, so what you can see is from the case, there's the 3 wires on a pin. I'm just going to pull that pin, that pin right there. I'm going to pull that out of the way, and that'll give us the 2 halves. Great. Okay, now that that's out of the way, here's a joystick assembly, and it's at an angle in the case, and that was one of the problems. I forgot to mention that. If you look here, okay, this part here is flat, but there, get a better view of it. Okay, this part here is flat, so when I was putting my the wood cutout, I'm not going to get it, but it's up there, the wood cutout here, the joystick controller would be at an angle, and I wasn't sure how that was going to operate, how well that would operate with the servo motors, and that's another reason that I decided to not retrofit it, so to speak, to the existing one where you can make it removable, but to make it a permanent connection, because I do have to take this all apart and rewire everything. So anyway, here these look like a couple of 5 screws. Take that out next. Joystick is out, and I take lots of meds, and I love these bottles for all kinds of screws, so I always save these. All right, so I don't know what we're going to do with these. We may reuse them. I may start the whole project in a different view. I don't know, but it's always good to save your screws and bottles. Okay, I have to make a correction, because as I was talking about the screws that were removed from the bottom here, okay, and I mentioned that they were T5s. There, I'm looking at this thing sitting on my workbench, and it's as a T10, not a T5. Okay, so if you try to use a T5 in there, it's just going to turn and do nothing. Anyway, so next step is to remove the circuit board from the housing. And the way we're going to do that is, I'm looking carefully here. Okay, I do see 2 tabs, one there and one there. And then we have a tab right here in the middle. Can you see that right there? Okay. Now, I've done this before on another video of how to clean the contacts. So if you want to refer that, I'll put a link in the description below. But what you're going to do is you're going to press down on that tab and slide the circuit board towards the joystick. I'm going to do that now. Okay, that happened with very little effort. Like I said, I just pressed down on here and slid this whole thing down towards the joystick, and it should be loose now. Yeah, and it is. All right, so now we're taking this out, removing the joystick, and here we have, get that out of the way. So we have the components that we're going to mess around with now. Interesting. I'm not sure what to do with this yet, how to mount it. We'll see. This will probably be the easy part because, well, these here are just LED lights. I'll put this next to here. Okay, so those are just the LED lights. Then we have on the back of this will be the power button and the horn. So that'd be oh man, that's dirty. Okay, power button and the horn. Power button and the horn. The speed control, slow and fast. And then the next two buttons is for the chair lift, which will be there. Okay. And that's it. So what I'm going to end up doing is soldering wires, not on these plates, but actually on the reverse. Maybe. I don't know. Interesting. Huh. Okay. What do you think about this? Wow. Okay, this is multi-layered. I thought, oh man, I guess that what I could do is follow the circuitry of each one of these. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's easy. All right. So I can follow the circuitry of each one of these, which would be two actually. It's like a maze, and all the button does is wherever you press it, it's going to make a contact at this point. But here, this is actually just two connections. So I will follow it and see which pin, because there are pins here. There's pins all over. Hopefully, yeah, you can see them all over. Hopefully, if I follow the pins, I can figure out which pins go to which switch. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to write it down. I'll make a little drawing. Okay, so I set the continuity tester. Just for continuity testing. And then what I did is I checked each one of these pins using this, and just listen for it. And bottom line is came out with this drawing here, which is actually this, just enlarged. So I was able to find out this pin right here, as you can see. It would be that guy right there. Then we have another one there, which corresponds to here and here. So here's the on-off switch, and the horn. Horn would be there. I determined that one is for the seat raising. Okay, so we mark that as speed. I'm sorry, not the seat, speed. So we got speed up, speed down, seat, and seat, which are probably the same thing because when you press them, they do the same thing. This was important to find which one was the common, which is that pin right there, one to the right. Okay, so now we're going to solder some wires and take it to the next level. Okay, so I have it temporarily connected with the cable going directly into this. So this is controlling the chair. So the chair is now being controlled remotely by this, with this box right here, the transmitter. All right, so I'm going to try, turn it on. Let's see. Wheelchair's on. There are all the lights. Look at the speed control. Okay, this is on low. As I'm moving this to the right. Okay, so that's on fast. And let's see, the horn, that works. So you can actually leave the horn running while this is working. And I'm going to try moving the chair forward a little bit. Whoa, okay, that works. Turn. Whoa, okay. And all works good. Turn the horn off. Okay, now I'm going to turn it off again. And there it is. It's off. And now I'll just reassemble everything the right way. I want to mention that ideally, these components, rather than being put on a piece of wood, could have been put on different pieces of wood or plastic, plexiglass or something like that, which would have made it better. But having it on different pieces of plexiglass would have given us the ability to mount it on the bottom of the chair, okay? And the reason that I could not do that is because, hang on, I had to switch over here. Okay, this chair is now raising. But what happened is that, not happened, but a few years ago, I did another modification to this chair, which is this, okay, full lights. Looks a lot nicer, during the night, but if you look on the bottom, I also added additional lights here to give it some offset downlighting, okay? So that's why I missed this space, so I had to mount it. Well, this is not going to be mounted, it's just going to be lying on the seat. But ideally, it would have been nice to mount it underneath here. All right, if you want, I'd put up another instructable video and the instructions of how I did this.